If I Should Die by Donevy Westphal. Available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other retailers. He emerged 15 minutes later in a black and tan telephone company uniform. He took the picture out the clipboard and slipped it into his shirt pocket. New identity, new day. It's more challenging to apply a disguise over a disguise. He had lightened up the skin tone, taken out the brown contacts, given himself a flatter nose. The hat would cover the hair color, the beard was a bit touchy. He checked the badge against his makeup job. Not bad for the few minutes and conditions he had to work in. Julius backed out of the drive and stopped again. One more look in the mirror to ensure that he appeared like the guy in the photo he'd been given. Some guy with the name of Joe Smith, the new employee of Co-op Telephone Company. He repositioned the cap, then drove the light blue van sporting the title, Co-op Telephone, off the dirt road onto the gravel road, then over a mile. He stopped by a telephone pole at an intersection. He surveyed the countryside. A heavy sigh escaped his little dry lips. He took a swallow from his water. When he put it back in the cup holder, he covered it with a shirt and turned his attention to the work at hand. Like the saying goes, here's one for the Gipper. Or maybe not. Duty calls. Lives hang on me completing this job successfully. He took his harness around the pole, and like a monkey, he shinnied up to the top. After looking busy for a short interval, he did his work of adding a disruptor. Now for the finishing touch. Julius drove at a crawl down the gravel drive toward a white two-story farmhouse with a red roof. Short brown grass covered the landscape, giving it a barren, dry look. Julius could see evidence of several doggy landmines scattered more than occasionally across the lawn, and in the center sat a doghouse. As he approached the front door, a Great Dane woke from his slumber. Foaming, chomping, and barking wildly, the dog hit the end of his chain. Julius fished in his pocket, pulled out a doggy treat, and hoped for the best as he tossed it in the direction of the offended animal. The dog did not take the bait. Undaunted, Julius continued to the porch, knocking on the door, and waited. All the while the dog fought the chain, snarling and barking. From inside the house, a chorus of sounds erupted. Oh great, more dogs. But these sound more like ankle biters. The door opened and he looked at a small, pudgy girl wearing a pink gingham apron and wielding a spatula in her left hand. Can I help you, mister? Well now, I don't know. Are you the lady of the house? This is sure a strange turn of events. There aren't supposed to be any youngsters here. The little girl giggled. No, I'll get my mama. Just you wait. She turned and ran back across the living room to what must have been the kitchen, shouting as she went, Mom! Mom! I'm coming, Nancy. Just give me a minute. 3 ankle biters were jumping and yapping for all they were worth on the other side of the screen door. A young woman's voice spoke to the child as they came back toward the door. From what he could see, it looked like a typical living room, just a bit messy. Hello, can I help you? A blonde woman in her mid-20s peered out at him from the dim interior. Would you dumb dogs hush up? She tried scooting them out of the way with her bare feet. I'm sorry, they just make more noise. Hush up, Dixie. She's the leader, she said. Those little dogs don't bother me near like the one in the yard, ma'am, he said with a smile. My name's Joe Smith, and I work for the telephone company. We've had complaints about some phones in the area not working. Can you tell me if your house phones are all working? I don't actually live here. This is my uncle's house, and we're doing some cleaning for him. The ones downstairs are working, but I don't know about upstairs. Who's at the door, Melody? A male voice shouted down the stairs. She turned and raised her voice. Some guy from the telephone company. Tell him we don't need any more work on the phones. They were just out last week and everything's fine. You've heard it from the source then. She turned back and smiled at Julius. I guess I have now. Here's my card. Just put it by the phone. If you ever need anything, give me a call. And as an afterthought, he handed an extra card to the little girl. Would you like your very own card, miss? He smiled. And have a great day. He walked back by the Great Dane. The dog still chomped and foamed and fought the chain. Julius stepped up into a service truck, backed around. He glanced in his rearview mirror. The Great Dane stopped straining at the chain and now sniffed at the doggy treat before gobbling it up. A slight smirk crossed his face before he cruised out the driveway. Phew, that went better than I thought it would. After a haphazard course down a couple of different roads, he took another drink of water and idled down the O'Brien Dirt Road and coasted the van into its original spot, nestled on the brush of the O'Brien's grove. When he opened the door, sounds of a hammer rang out from a busy carpenter working up around the house. He took his water bottle and slipped into the back of the truck. Using the water, he wiped off his Joe Smith disguise. He replaced the brown contacts and changed back into his blue jeans and a blue shirt. He cracked open the back door and listened. The hammering continued up at the house. He slid out. With a casual air, he stopped to snap a random picture along the dirt road, crossed the gravel road into the field opposite the O'Brien acreage, and followed the fence road to the Meacham property just north of the O'Brien field. He took more pictures of the Meacham field and then turned back and retraced his path back to cross into Juan and Laura's trees and pasture. He breathed a sigh of relief as he reached the cover of the trees. It seemed like a lifetime since noon. A little more investigating out here, and I should be due at the house for supper. Chapter 21. At dinner, Julius took the food as it passed and filled in his plate. He listened to the others chatter. How's your day been? How's been your day, Ruth? Michael asked. Mr. Marsh came home about 2 o'clock this morning while Lila and Joe were sitting with Gretchen. He slept until about 1 this afternoon. After that, he got up and talked to Gretchen briefly, then went to town. Ethel and I sat with Gretchen until Mr. Marsh came back from town. He came clattering back, sober, in good spirits, and the cupboards aren't bare anymore. That's great. Michael took the slaw Ruth handed him. I'm glad it's the end of the day. Time to eat and relax. Mrs. McDonald said as food was passed around the table. Here, Julius, have some fruit salad. How was your business at Juan's store, Michael? Pretty lively for the first 2 hours. And slowed down. Pass the rolls, please. It's good to be home. Ruth handed Michael the bread and butter. The Marshes live close to the park, and the children are accustomed to playing at the park whenever they feel like it. Ethel and I weren't comfortable with that, so I went with Billy and Lolly to the park, and Ethel stayed at the house with Gretchen and the baby. Here, Julius, have some fresh broccoli? Ruth passed the bowl. We all should be grateful, but we want to do it our way, or... The earlier conversation nibbled at the back of Julius's mind in a short time later, as he sat pondering in the shade of the maple tree. He cupped his head in his hands, reflecting as the conversation played and replayed. We want to do what we want to do, regardless of the consequences to ourselves or to others. In the background, the trio sang I'll Fly Away. Oh, God, he groaned and rubbed his hands over his face. I wish I could. I just wish I could. Everything should be democratic. Why would we think God needs our opinion? The door closed as Michael came out. So what's up? He asked. Just thinking. Mom says she sees things more clearly now than before she was blind. Michael sat at the picnic table and propped his foot against the chair. How'd it happen? Julius asked. A year ago, September, she and Lewis's boys were out horseback riding during the late summer. A pheasant flew up in front of her horse. The horse shied away from the bird. She had her left foot out of the stirrup, rocking her boot or something. And the horse shied and she slid off and hit her head. The doctor said it isn't permanent blindness and she's certain her sight is coming back. So far, the doctor says it's not measurable if it is, he shrugged. She's accepted it better than I would have expected. Only occasionally does she kick against the goads. When Dad's home, they ride the horses and she still has her music. Are you ready to go, kiddo? The screen door whooshed shut as Ruth stomped down the steps. Surely, girlie. Michael shied his serious tone of the moment before. Michael, you're a nut. She rolled her eyes at him. Thank you for the compliment, my dear. He stood and turned to Julius. Are you going to be around for a while this evening? I intend to be. Not that she needs watching, but it never hurts to have someone handy. Yeah, I'll be here, Julia said. Got you covered.